So now you have the pre-training done. Again, just to like spend time on this so that we are clear that what does pre-training entail. So you had this transformer network, you were passing it this kind of input, mask and so on, right. Now where was this input coming from? This input was coming from this large corpus of Wikipedia, right, where you had sentences or even paragraphs of length 5 and 2. You were just feeding that entire thing as input, just as we had seen for the GPT model, right. We had seen this entire Wikipedia article, 5 and 2 sequence length was fed as input, right, and some words were masked, and you know exactly what those words are because they are there on Wikipedia, right. You know which words you have masked and you know what the right output should be. So you are getting supervision for free, right. And this whole training you are doing over a large number of training examples, in particular 2.5 billion words from Wikipedia and 800 million words from the book corpus, right. So this is what the pre-training does. It is not again trained for any specific task. The pre-training is only meant for it to learn about the language, right. So it's just understanding interactions between words. It is not being trained for sentiment analysis, it is not being trained for question answering, it is not being trained for name entry recognition or any of these tasks. Now we want to use this pre-trained model, which we believe has a better understanding of language now. Now we will show it small amounts of label data or reasonable amounts of label data, right, as opposed to the unlabeled data, which is just raw text, which is abundant. The amount of labeled data is always expensive and smaller. So now given that it has learned enough about our language, we are hoping that with reasonable amounts of labeled data, it will give good performance on the downstream task. So that's what our quest is, that is what we mean by adapting to downstream tasks. Okay, so let's see how to do that. So there are two approaches which were popular at that time. One was known as using BERT as a feature extractor, so we will see what that means, and the other was fine-tuning, right, and this fine-tuning is what we had also seen in the context of GPT. So this you are sort of familiar with, but we will just revisit it again in the context of BERT, and we will also see what does feature extraction mean, right. So first let us look at feature extraction. So now suppose you have pre-trained the model, okay, and you had this spatial token, remember, CLS, okay, and when you are calculating these subsequent representations for CLS at every layer, it had of course seen all the words in the input sentence, right, because it was taking a weighted attention of all of that. And of course when you are using it for downstream tasks, there will be no masks in the sentence. You will not mask out a word from a review and then ask it to predict what the review was, right, okay. So now you can think of this CLS as an aggregator, right, which is sort of taking input from all the words in the sentence, and it is a spatial token. So on its own it does not have any meaning, it just acts as an aggregator, okay. Now what you could do is that if you have a review and you have say this kind of labeled data now, so this is X, each of this is a review. So suppose you have M such reviews and then each of this is a label, say just positive, negative label, right. So you have the label data also. Now you want to spatialize this, or you want to use this pre-trained knowledge to do better on the, to make you do better on the downstream task, which is sentiment analysis, right. So that's the problem that we are trying to address. So what we could do is, you could take your input sequence, okay, and just pass it through BERT. You pass it through the 12 layers of BERT. At the end it would give you a representation for every token, right. All the, suppose your review was some 74 tokens, right. So it will give you a representation for all the 74 tokens. You just take the representation for the first token, which is the CLS token, okay, and you think of this as a rich representation for your input sequence, right, because this representation has been constructed by a trained BERT model which has seen a lot of language data. So it knows what the language interactions are, how to capture them, and then it gives you one representation, right. So in the traditional machine learning where you had feature representations and then on top of that you used to have a machine learning algorithm, you could use the same idea here, except that the feature representation is coming from a BERT model, okay. So that is what the using BERT as a feature extractor means. So let us just look at that a bit more. I just gave you the intuition, but let us look at it in detail. Yeah. So you take the representation of the CLS token from the final layer and then use it as input to your logistic regression or any of those models, right. So now what you have done is essentially the following, right. You had this x, where x, each of these was a review, right, some review of arbitrary length, right, and you had m such examples. Each of these things you have passed through BERT, and what have you got? Why have I written 768 here? The embedding size, right, the embedding size that you get from here. So, you have taken the embedding of the CLS token, and every embedding is of size 768. So, you have got a 768 dimensional word embedding. So, now you have got this standard machine learning problem that you have 768 features and a class label y, and you want to train a machine learning classifier on top of that. And you can use your favorite machine learning algorithm. You could use logistic regression, naive Bayes. You can even use a neural network, right. You could just use a feed forward neural network, or you can use any of the other popular machine learning algorithms that you are. So, it just boils down to the following, that you had given some reviews which was text, you converted them to features, 768 dimensional features in this case, and now you have this x comma y matrix, and you know how to deal with this in any standard machine learning problem, right. So, the only use of BERT has been to do this feature computation or extracting features from the input text, okay. Once you have extracted the features, you do not care about BERT at all, right. You are just going to train a separate ML algorithm for doing this, okay. Does that make sense, right? No, x is the, y is the labels, right, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1 and so on, and x is the input which was there, reviews. So, now each review you have converted to a 768 dimensional feature vector. No, this is the training data. Now, you have x comma y pairs, right. So, you can train a machine learning algorithm, right. So, you could train a logistic regression algorithm where you give the input as this 768 dimensional input, okay, fine, and you know what the true label is. No, to the BERT we are not giving y, because we are just using it to extract features from the input. The BERT is pre-trained already, right, that is what I said, it is pre-trained now, now you are adapting it to a downstream task, right. So, it is already, the weights are learned, right, all the WQ, WK, everything is learned using the pre-training objective that you have already done, right. Now, you got this 768 dimensional representation. Now, you can train a simple logistic regression on top of that, right. So, what does the logistic regression do? It will have this sigmoid of W transpose X. So, you will have this W weight, and you will just learn those weights using the standard gradient descent algorithm, right, and X here belongs to our D model, right. So, it is a 760, huh? This is the X that you have computed here, okay, fine, right. So, this boils down to a simple machine learning algorithm. In fact, you could also have a feed forward layer network here, right, and then at the output you are just predicting the class 0 or 1 and maximizing the probability of the correct class, right. So, then you are just using as BERT to convert from this X text to X numbers, right, the 768 dimensional numbers. Okay. Yeah, so parameters of BERT are frozen and only the classification head is trained from scratch, right. So, this is known as the classification head, right. So, whatever I had drawn here, right, that is the classification head, that is the parameters those are the parameters that you are training. You are not training anything here, this training is already done. In fact, this entire process is static, right, you just do it once, you take your X, which is all the training data that you had, convert it into X features, and then forget about BERT. After that, BERT does not exist for you. Of course, at test time again, when you get a new review, you will convert it to X features and then pass that feature as input to your ML algorithm, right, or ML model, okay. Yeah, pre-processing or feature extraction is done using BERT, okay. Yeah. The other approach, as we have seen earlier, is fine tuning, right. So, then in fine tuning what I am doing is that I what in fine tuning, what I'll do is I'll just do a simple version of that, right. So this is my BERT network. It has all these W, Q, K, V parameters into 12 layers, right. All those parameters are there. This is my CLS token. Earlier I was predicting some head here, some 768 dimensional representation here, correct. Now on top of this I could just have a softmax layer which sort of first converts this into two-dimensional representation 1 and 0, right, and then I compute a softmax over this, okay, and then I just want to maximize the probability of the correct class. So my loss function now is just minus log y hat L, where L is the correct class, and then I can back propagate to the whole network. I can train these new parameters that I have introduced here, which is 768 cross 2, because I am taking a 768 dimensional representation, mapping it to a 2-dimensional representation, and then doing a softmax on top of that, right. So those parameters anyways I have to learn, and then I'll also learn the entire W, Q, K, V. So in the effect, what happens is that now everything in my network will start specializing for the task of sentiment analysis. That means it will try to adjust the parameters so that it does well on this task, okay. The other approach is, which we are seeing earlier, is that you could think of it as the same thing, but instead you are going to freeze this. That means you are not going to back propagate through these parameters, you are just going to back propagate and train the new parameters that you have introduced. Does that make sense? In this fine tuning, you are fine tuning the entire BERT model. That means these parameters also you are fine tuning. In the previous approach, which was just using it as a feature representation, this is static. I have given you this representation, I am not going to change that. You adjust your weights so that you get your desired performance, right. So that's a simple diagram to capture the difference between fine tuning and feature representation, feature extraction, sorry. Okay. Yeah, so this is the catch, right. So we do not mask the words in the input sequence because I don't want to feed it a review with some words masked. It does not make sense, right. That's the reason why we had replaced those 10% tokens with actual words, so that it knows that there will not always be masked, there would be actual words also. And this is the main thing that we were hoping for, right, that now during pre-training it has learned so much about language that just as a human we learn language over many years. Now at a certain age, if I ask a teenager, hey, here's the review of a movie, can you tell me it's good or bad? Without ever having done this task, the person would be able to tell me it's positive or negative or whatever, right? Or I could just explain with few examples, see, this is what a positive review looks like, this is what a negative review looks like, can you tell me this new review whether it's positive or negative? With few examples a human can learn. The same thing we are hoping with these pre-trained large language models, that you have seen so much of language in your pre-training that now I'll give you small amount of label data and you'll quickly able to learn. That's what this last bullet point is claiming, that it is observed that the model used in the classification head converges quickly with a less number of label training examples than the feature based approach, right, because you are using the entire network to learn it now. Okay.
But the previous data which is learned, it does not have any movie or.
It could have anything. Now actually in the modern LLMs, that is one of the important things that people are focusing on, and we will be talking about data pipelines in the phase 2 of the course. So it's very important to have very diverse data sets on your network, right. So suppose there was no data on Indian mythology in your training data, then it cannot learn about Indian mythology, right. So it will not have knowledge about that. So you should have as diverse of input data as possible. Or you'll have to supplement more data during fine tuning, right. So that's what it is. Okay. So now let's look at the task of question answering, right. Extractive question answering. That means you have given a paragraph, you have given a question, and the answer lies in the paragraph. So in one example could be, here's a paragraph about the brain, right, and it is the center of the nervous system, right. So this sentence is given there, right. And so the question could be, what is the center? and this could be, the answer could be brain, which is there in the paragraph itself. So, it is like a reading comprehension where the answer as it is present in the paragraph. It is not like a rephrased version of what is written in the paragraph. It is just a span of tokens which is the answer in the paragraph. Okay. Okay. So, here is a question, what is unique about the mission? And here is a paragraph which was about the space mission, and now I have asked a question related to this paragraph and it has to answer, and the answer is that the role of artificial intelligence in guiding the spacecraft, right. So, this answer is embedded as it is in the paragraph. So, I just have to say that the start token of the answer is role and the end token of the answer is spacecraft. Okay. So, now you could think of it as the following. So, this is your pre-trained BERT, right, which had segment A. So, segment A is the question, segment B is the paragraph from which the question was asked, right, and now you will pass it through the BERT model, and for every word in the segment B, it will generate a final representation at the output, which will be of size D model, correct, right, and for every word you want to predict whether this is the start of the answer or not the start of the answer. You could model it as this, right. So, I could predict whether this is the start of the answer or not the start of the answer, okay, and then whichever word has the maximum probability of being the start of the answer, that word I will predict as the start token, and similarly I will predict the end token, right. So, that is how you can model this task of question answering. It is still a very popular task even with the modern LLMs, you always have a question answering task that you want to try to do good at. So, this is what we are going to do. So, we are going to introduce a parameter S, okay. It is a vector of size the same as the this, right, same as this 768 dimensional. So, you are going to predict Si, okay, which is whether the ith token is the start token or not by using this formula. So, this is just a softmax where you are computing the dot product between your parameter and the embedding and normalizing it over all the other dot products that you have, right. So, this will give you a probability distribution over these tokens, which of these is a start token. So, whichever is the maximum probability, you will assign that to be the start token. Similarly, you will define another parameter called Ti for the end token, right, some E parameter, and you will calculate the probability of the ith token being the end token by again computing this softmax, right, where you have the dot product between the E and the ith embedding and normalized over all the other dot products, right. So, now you get these two probabilities. So, you can predict the start token, the one out of the 25 tokens which has the highest probability of being the start. You can predict the end token, again one among the 25 tokens which has the highest probability of being the end token. Of course, the end token has to be greater than the start token, right. The start token cannot be token number 7 and then the end token is token number 2, that cannot happen, right. If that happens, you just say the answer does not exist because I am not getting a valid span in the paragraph, okay. So, let us look at this. So, this is suppose the distribution over the start tokens, and you can see that role has the maximum probability here. So, role will be predicted as the start token. That is once you compute the SI. So, S9 happened to have the maximum probability. Similarly, E17 happened to have the maximum end probability. So, you will say that S9 is the start token, E17 is the end token, and everything between these two tokens is the answer, right. And j should be greater than or equal to I. If j is less than I, then you will just say that answer not found, right, you just return an empty string.